For the record,
we're now live.
Okay.
We're live.
Serious.
Hi, everybody, and welcome along to today's Sunday Market Analysis. My name is Paul B, I'm the founder of Action's 12th Online Trading Profits and the Wish Charity Coin. And today, the Action's 12th trading team are going to come along and they're going to look at the market as it sets up for the week ahead. Heck of a show we've got in store for us. Everybody's in either live or by recording. And what that means is we've got everything you need to trade next week's market. If you want a macro overview, Julian's going to start in a few minutes and give us into the macro stuff. After him will be Alexis talking fundamentals. After that, Ash will come in and get into the data. Ainslie will be in having a look at gold. Shooky will be in having a look at crypto. We cover everything. Ainslie's back on gold. New addition to the show, we've got Orlando coming in talking about the US dollar, and not just the US dollar index, but the US dollar index and the US dollar against other currencies and where to trade them and how to trade them. We've got Gordon Scott coming in and talking about a bit of stocks and Forex as well. Gordon Scott, trading guru. And we've got Lloyd coming into currency strength, and we've got Geoff coming in doing technical analysis. And again, as every week, you guys are welcome to come and spend about an hour with us to get all of this stuff in one go, or you can wait an hour and the recordings will come out and you can watch them one at a time, watch the ones that are relevant to you. I do encourage you to come to the show. I think it's a bloody good show. There is some really good learning for those that want to learn in this stuff. So I do hope you're doing this again. We're going to start off today with macro market overviews by the man in the lockdown, which doesn't allow to see a barber anymore, but our macro markets expert and contract trader trading now around the world in high demand, Julian. Let's hear what's happening with the macro market. I love the gold and silver stuff with Ainslie early on tonight. I thought that was really nice, really clear. There's a pretty simple message in there: buy some gold and silver at some point.
I didn't say that, obviously, Paul, but because we have to put a financial disclaimer on that. Of course, folks, for those of you who are interested in the educational value of that Trader Cafe, by all means, please go and have a look at it. And we are steering you towards a more positive outlook on gold and silver. But don't forget, nobody has any. Okay, so guys, let's get into this. Paul, is that me up? Can I go?
You're up, mate. Off you go.
Okay, perfect. Now look, folks, update. Think last week we talked about the sentiment cycle, right? And I've been nattering on about this for some time. So if you're always thinking about sentiment, here's a great example. I continue to wear my trading jumper because although it's still pretty chilly in Auckland at the moment, so I have to have my trading jumper on a Sunday evening here. We are struggling with lurching our way towards springtime temperatures. It's only about 20 degrees outside. So listen, right, okay, here we go. What are the key things about sentiment? We've just been through a Trader Cafe episode where we've talked about fundamentals and this and that and technical stuff, but overall, right, nobody appears to have many positions in the gold market or the silver market. So sentiment, for want of a better description, is very low. So when we talk about this, we talk about the divergence, right? We talk about the divergence between what people are thinking some days and what's actually happening. Here's another example of this, right? Go look at this chart over here. Okay, what we're looking at here is the disconnect between what people are thinking about the economy, light blue line, not as good as it was, still starting to struggle a bit, don't quite understand what's happening, let's blame it on 64 different things, but life isn't quite as good as we thought it was 2 or 3 months ago, and their investments in stocks, which are full on 100%, 120%, turbocharged, amazing, the market's going great, no problems at all, we see no earnings recession on the horizon. Okay, this is called a disconnect of sentiment. Okay, something's going on there. We did a piece a little while ago on sentiment, right? And the sentiment cycle when it comes to stocks and where we are. So think about this in your head. We're looking for signs, indicators, early warning signs. Who knows? We're not calling a top. What we're calling is a go, okay, and that's what we're looking at this time. Let's go look a couple more. I wonder what else I've got to show you. Okay, the bond market, which, as people sometimes forget, especially those who trade Tesla, bonds are quite large in comparison to stocks collectively. You think there's a lot of money in Tesla? You haven't seen the bond market yet. It's enormous. Think 20, think 30, think 40, think $50 trillion, right? In that bond market. It's enormous. It is the elephant, however big that elephant needs to be in whatever small room you've got. this is where it is. So what's really interesting about that, again, we're looking at sentiment, right? What is everybody saying? We are pessimistic about the outlook for bonds. Now, I wonder why that is, because apparently, apart from me, the world and Geoff Snyder out there at Alhambra Investments, the world believes that inflationary is far from transitory. It is now becoming persistent. We bump up to 5%. Everybody believes it's the end of the world. Trust me, 50% is a problem. 5%, So let's see what happens about whether it's persistent or not. Right now, two things are important in that debate. The bond market 10-year yield is sitting at 1.7% while inflation's at 5.5%. Who knows better, the inflation market or the bond market? My money is always without a shadow of doubt on the bond market. We've seen the scares before, right? We've seen inflation bump up 2 or 3 times. Don't believe it. Okay, and what's really important about this is nobody owns these, right? Collectively, people are negative. When they're negative about it, they're not putting money into it. When they're not putting money into it, sentiment's bad and it sits in a really bad place. Now, this might not be the bottom in bond prices, the high in yields, right? We may have to move a little bit further, but think about it, right? This isn't an over-owned, overbought market like DWAC or something like that, right? We're not trading Trump stocks anymore, right? This is really, really, really poor sentiment. So therefore, people are under-allocated to it and that risk being caught by surprise. Let's see what else we've got there. Oh, hang on a second. We've got the oil market. Now, what's going on in the oil market? Do you remember 2 to 3 weeks ago? This is like a setup. I can't believe we're doing this, right? We did something called backwardations and contangos, right? We have right now in the oil market, if you missed that segment, guys, go look it up. I haven't got time to go through it now. Right now, we're sitting at a significant backwardation in the oil market. What does that mean? It means the nearby prices are higher than the far out prices by quite a large margin. I mean, like seriously big spreads, right? Seriously big spreads. Right now, everybody's bidding for oil, right? That's why the price is so high. Why? Well, there's power cuts around the world. There's power cuts in China, there's power cuts in India, there's power cuts in America, there's power cuts in Europe. Fortunately, we haven't had any power cuts in New Zealand yet, but I'm sure we're going to come because we're always about a year late, and that'll be when it normally tends to happen, right? So the key thing here is that this backwardation in the oil market is a sign of short-term supply shortages, right? And people getting a little worried. In the long run, there's enough oil to go around. Don't worry, we can just pump some more. Ask the Russians and the Saudis to help out. I'm sure they've got a little bit to go if we need it. So what does that mean for the future for oil prices? I don't know, but traditionally into this backwardation, it may get worse before it gets better, but usually you have that going back to a contango, back to a balanced market, which suggests either the back end, those future prices have to rise a lot, or the short-term prices are maybe a fraction too high. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. Last thing I want to tell you guys about supply chain. Do you remember we've only just heard about what a supply chain is? Apparently, it's a brand new product. It's something out there called a issue, right? It's called an issue in the world. How do we know it's an issue? Well, this is a Google mention of supply chains. Apparently, there were pretty much 0 mentions of supply chains for about 10 years beforehand. And do you know why? It's almost as boring as the gold market. However, when we now look at what's going on, supply chains are hotting up. Why? Because funnily enough, the price is up 4 or 5 times. Well, I wonder what that would happen if the gold market rallied 4 or 5 times. Anyway, let's move on, right? Because when you look at this, right, what is the sentiment saying here around the supply chains? Right now, are you in the overconfidence phase? Are you in the exuberance point? Who knows? But certainly having mentions like this on Google is a sure sign that we're probably getting to the end of the journey. Guys, that's all I have for you this time around. But just remember, when we're always thinking about the sentiment cycle, we have to keep coming back to this over and over again. Look for things where nobody's talking about it and nobody owns it. Maybe it's time to get involved in that. Whether things are that everybody's talking about and everybody owns it, I think you know the story there. That's it from me, Paul.
Cheers, Julian. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate you coming in again. The weather in Auckland's a little bit warmer than it is in Awakuni tonight. So I've got to say, if it's around 20 degrees up there, it's a little cooler down in Awakuni.
And I appreciate, Gary, thank you very much for recommending a hairdresser for me in Sydney. Unfortunately, that's a little bit too far for me to go to a haircut. It involves 2 weeks of quarantine as well, too, on the way back and on the way there. So for a 5-week journey, although that's a relatively cheap haircut, Gary, thank you very much. I'm afraid I might have to wait a bit longer.
We could do a fundraiser. Right? Yvonne could shave your head and we could do a fundraiser. We could raise some money for Cure Kids. I think we'd go real good, mate. Right?
We could. And can I just put that one straight to bed right now? No, no. I'll do something else. I'll get the scissors out myself. Actually, no, I won't. Hopefully, guys, when my ponytail comes up, then it'll be awesome, and you can all get a picture of that before I ceremoniously have it cut off in 4 weeks' time.
No ponytails in our shows. Thank you very much.